Rock, 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 rock.
What's great, y'all? I'm Henry Rock Johnson, and you are now tuned in to Rock Radio. I got my brother Thrizzle. Please don't forget the 1-3 in the studio with me today, and we're going to talk about sound selection and songwriting. But before we tap in, hit the like and subscribe for more Rock Radio. So relax, take notes, because you'll be able to pick out the creme de la creme after this video. So how you feeling today, bro?
Brother, I'm excellent. I am excellent, man. How about you?
I'm feeling great as well. Talk about the importance of selecting the correct cadence in the song when you're writing.
Well, for me, that's one of the main things that I seek to find outside of melody or married with melody. I truly seek cadence because that provides my rhythm. Specifically, I like to find the hi-hat within the song to help me get my cadence. Typically, if I can rap along the hi-hats, then it'll fit anywhere else in the song, in my opinion.
So talk about the importance of selecting the right lyrics when you're writing. Because you could easily say pretty much anything,
Yes.
but how do you marry the cadence and the lyrics along with the track?
So I stretch myself with that because it's easy to have the cat in the hat lyrics, but when the process of writing the song, it's also storytelling. So it's important that you tell a great story. So if I can't talk it out and it sounds captivating, then then that's not it. It really takes for me to read it from top to bottom. It reads like a poem. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. There's a rise of emotion and a solution to the problem at hand. So, Rock, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
How important is sound selection for you within your track?
Sound selection is very important because that sets the tone for the song. You want to be able, similar to songwriting, you want to tell the story with the sounds that you're selecting on the track. Because if you don't pick the right songs, that can throw a whole beat off. Because I admit, it's been some beats, I'll have the melodies, hi-hats or whatever on point, but I won't have the right drums, and that throws the whole track off.
I can agree. Also, you're saying Still Got Love. I remember we did that a couple years ago, brought that back, and it hits different. Even the lyrics and the sound, they actually marry each other.
So a funny story about that, I was actually riding around listening to the original song by Glenn Jones, and called Show Me. It's called Show Me.
Right.
So what it was, I heard the original track we did in my head, but as I was listening to the song progress, I'm like, wait a minute. So I pretty much sampled the first maybe minute of the song when we brought it back, but that gave it more feeling and it married it. It was in tune with what you were talking about. So once I was able to find that point where the two could marry each other, that's when I'm like, I can redo it. And I stripped the drums, I stripped the snares. I think the only thing I kept from the original beat, besides the fact that we sampled that song, was like a pad or something. But other than that, I just stripped everything down to the bare necessities and then build it back up again.
So speaking on samples, how do you, because I noticed that you said in this particular one, it was about a minute or so of the sample. Is that typical in your beats? Or I think I was on Twitter or X now, and someone was mentioning only using 5 seconds of a sample. What's your mindset around sampling in general?
It's been done since the beginning of time. And I really sample for the art aspect. I sample to pay homage to the original song because it touched me in a place emotionally. So I'm recreating it or keeping it alive in 2024. So that I'm not too worried about, oh, they're going to take all your publishing, oh, you're not going to make any money. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about creating the art, and the rest of that stuff will follow.
Got you. Now, I understand that, but more on the selection and sound. When I'm speaking on when you actually pick samples, do you choose one part or are you taking varieties of parts?
Whatever resonates. So if it's one part of a song, cool. I've evolved over the years to chop up a little bit more since I use FL Studio to make it almost, I'm using an MPC. But man, those cats that use MPCs and samples, hey, that's a whole other level. And during my career, I have had the opportunity to create on the MPC, sample on the MPC. I'm telling you, it's a little bit more complex with splitting it up because everything is analog. But once you get that process down, oh my goodness.
So let's talk about arrangement. I know when we first met, we really did a lot of B-roll. When I first came into learning about songwriting, the most familiar arrangement type I was familiar with was one that was just verse and hook, verse, hook, and done. But in the organization, Writing Sessions America, started by Kevin Shine.
Shout out to Kevin Shine.
Shout out to Kevin Shine. And that's where we met. But as we started working, I got introduced to B-roll. And I used to always love B-roll in the songs, but I never knew what it was. And it's just so cool how came together, and then how I'm able to make those type of songs just intuitively with you.
And on a track perspective, it's all about keeping it moving. So every couple bars, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, switch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So every couple bars, you always want to make sure that your beat is changing up or moving, because you want to take the listener somewhere with this track. So it say still water, what did they say? I think it's like water's never stagnant, water flows. So you want to keep your track flowing as well.
Interesting. And so when I am writing and I'm in between those spaces, I make sure I do the same thing. I want to keep it moving. Now, what I find is that in some hit records, maybe every 2 bars, there's a shift, there's a change in pitch. If it's not repetitive, there's a change in pitch every 2 bars that keeps the song moving along and takes you a place. So as a writer, that's the way I...
So let me ask you this. You run across a track that may be a little bit more stagnant or might be a little bit more simple. Do you create that with your voice?
Absolutely. So I love when songs are at bare bones. Actually, just a part of my process, it takes really the main instrument, 1 or 2 instruments, and I know how I'm coming on the song. Pretty much everything else, like take 2 instruments and I'll record. And after that, I can piece everything around my voice and how I'm coming. I typically try to let the voice be my main instrument. It's a part of my process. Now, when it's ours, we're starting in the beginning, and I make sure I establish that place to get you in that rhythm. And then from there, you magic after that.
Yeah, it's all about building something up. So arrangement to me is probably my favorite part of production. It's cool putting everything together. It's awesome. And you don't want to overstack sometimes. Sometimes it is great to keep it simple. Because sometimes make a track, say if I put like sounds on it, I might only use 7 at the end of the day, because you want to leave space for the artist and the songwriter so the song can be building up a track, especially when we do it, like how we writing the song as we go. I can kind of around what you're saying, so I can kind of match your energy.
Right.
I can match your mood. I can match the mood of the song if I just arrange it a certain way. And it might just be taking out a hi-hat. It might just be taking out a 808 or something for a couple bars. It keeps the song moving. It keeps the water flowing. It keeps the song flowing.
And see, you picked up on a very important detail, because you're keeping it moving, and there's just certain areas where even though you have this repetition, you remove maybe 1 or 2 repetitive actions, and that provides that space where the vocal can sit right where it needs to. And speaking of vocals, the take on harmonies.
Harmonies are definitely an important part of the song. You don't want to overdo those as well. You want to keep your song stacked, kind of a full feel, but you just want to make sure everything is in key to me. Man, everything is just in a place where it gives you a warm feel and it gives your song a full feel.
So where do you feel, as a producer, like you make beats, where do you feel harmonies belong? Because the verse not as busy, and then the hook is where you have the most energy, but sometimes the hook needs to just stand alone. So when do you feel like it's necessary to have the harmony?
So I have a background as a writer. I used to rap a little bit. So like your strong points of the song, they definitely need the correct harmonies and stacks.
Okay.
You just want to sometimes put them in a place where, like you said, the track isn't too busy. That way it makes the track stand out. Or if you have a simple track, you definitely want to add harmonies to them because it kind of shows your range too.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned stacking vocals. So, are you a fan of is it comping? Are you a fan of comping, or do you feel that a person should just do a verse and then you can make multiple? You can just copy that particular main vocal.
Now that's a tricky one because sometimes you don't get the same feel twice.
Ooh.
So you get what I'm saying? You get two different feels together and it kind of fills up the room. But sometimes, yeah, it might be, I don't know, they don't have a lot of range or I don't know.
You know what? I saw something the other day. Of course, even in our sessions, there's been times where they might have done something 100 times. But I saw something the other day with Jid or J.I.D.
Yeah, J.I.D.
in Dreamville. He talked about doing one specific line 100 times because he knew that it was a hit. Saying that particular line took the song out of the stratosphere. So he intentionally just did it 100 times. So I think you hit it right on the head when you get that same feel twice.
So how do you approach that as a singer-songwriter? How do you stack your tracks to make them feel as full and warm as possible?
The thing with me, experiment with my in and outs. Instead of doing it in the same key, I'll do it in a complementary key that'll harmonize, that will just sound cool in different places as you listen. Also, it's very, very important for me to get the right texture in my voice, the right energy when I project in the song. And sometimes it's not about what I hear on the playback. It has to come from me first. And I truly feel that. And then from there, play around with my harmonies. So I'll add harmonies into my in and outs just to make it sound crazy at different parts so that you can feel it more, because those are the parts that I want to emphasize. In the hook, I love to harmonize all throughout my hook, maybe like 4 different harmonies. Sometimes it's stuff that you can't even hear, but to the natural ear you won't be able to hear, but it touches your ears in such a pleasant way. All of the vocal is full because of the harmonics. And I try to do that. I don't do it every song because I feel like some hooks just need it needs that richness, that fullness of the vocal, that one note. But there are other times where, and I love when I get to express myself and do 4 or 5 harmonies, and it's just like,
because it captures the emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
I need it to get that emotion. Sometimes that me singing it one way, you get it. But sometimes that those 3 harmonies really make you feel all of my perspectives. That's truly what it is. That's why I'm Thrizzle. I try to give you 3 different ways to feel me.
So what caused you to select the track that we're working on right now, that as the viewers are seeing the snippet of our process in a couple of videos, like made you select the track that you selected today?
Like as soon as I walked in the studio, I heard you from outside the studio, and there was just the way the sample was, like, I love being in that key. Like, he just grabbed in my emotions. And when the song changed and you played another beat, it just didn't feel the same. It's like there's a yearning for it. So I think that's important to pay attention to, because you never can truly know when that opportune time arrives where you're gonna make a song.
So you're saying the track has to speak to you?
Definitely has to speak to me. And that happens. Like, I can come in and write a song, no problem. But when the music is like, oh, I gotta write something. Oh, I have to record. Now, that's a whole different ballgame.
So there you have it, folks. Sound selection and songwriting. If this was a helpful video to you, leave it in the comments below. Hit the like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video.